In the 1980s, in the second half of 1980s, when I worked for the International Monetary Fund, I was leading a mission to China, and the government asked me to talk to the Chinese people. There were several hundreds in the room, explain what I think about the Chinese economy and Chinese economic policies. And I started out my speech by telling a Hungarian folk story, which is that a farmer, a peasant, walks on the street, arrives to a fork, and he wants to go to a city called Debrecen in Hungary. And a chariot, a horse-driven chariot comes and is asking, "Can I go with you?" And the driver said, "Yes, of course." And then he's asking, "How far is Debrecen?" He said, "It's about 20 kilometers. After about an hour, he's asking again, "How far is Debrecen?" He said, "No, 40 kilometers. So what is it? He didn't ask what direction he was going. And I said to my Chinese audience, China knows what direction to go. They have a very large population of 1.3 billion, whom they have to feed, dress, educate, so they want to develop. They know what the direction was. And actually, the one road, one belt is again, China knows what direction to go. So I thought that story was very, very relevant again. And just to tell you a few numbers, because not everybody knows, that China is the second largest economy in the world, but on a purchasing power parity is the first largest. And that it contributes nearly 1/3 to global growth. And export shares in the world amount to 15%, and more than 120 countries count China as their largest trading partners. So there's no doubt about it that China is going to be one of the most consequential economy for the world in the next few decades. And with that, I would like to ask Mr. Wang Yiwei to do the speech. And he's going to speak in English. I'm sorry, I thought he was going to speak in Chinese.
Good morning, ladies and gentlemen. This is my first time to visit Hungary. I visited 24 European countries, so for Hungary it's the first time, so it's a very honor. And I visited here because of the One Belt, One Road. So this very appreciative of the organizer. Today, my topic is about the Belt Road Initiative and the revival of the civilizations. China is the latest, actually, make the proposal on the initiative of the revival of the Asian Silk Road. 2010, European Union, there's ideas of the put from the Lisbon to Vladivostok, Eurasia free market, big market. It's called the New Silk Road project plan. And the United States, 2011, also have the New Silk Road strategy. And then 2 years later, President Xi Jinping, the One Belt, One Road. Many people confused, why not use Silk Road, but One Belt, One Road? If it's only one, whether my country is in or not. Actually, the belt is economic belt. I think this is the China experience, open reform in 38 years. We lifted the poverty of 700 million from contribute to the world 70%. So many countries want to share the experience. This China started from the like the Shenzhen Special Economic Zone and Industrial Park, and then built the economic corridor, economic belt. So one belt, this belt is China experience of open reform. Because of the Belt Road countries, most of them, they are developing countries. We said at least 64, including China 65, 8 of them LDC country. 24 of them, they are under the average of the Human Development Index, and 13 of them not joined WTO. So from the European standard, and US standard, high standard, not work so well. China, development-oriented approach to help them industrialization by infrastructure building, energy independent. And then after industrialization, democratization is possible. Otherwise, it's doomed to fail, like in Arab Spring. So this is about the belt. What is the road? Road is, I think, like Chinese people said, what kind of road China have? I think the Chinese people say, if we want to get rich, build the road. If we want to get rich quickly, build the motor road. If we want to get rich immediately, build the internet road, like Alibaba, so WeChat. So this is road, I think, also the China experience. But why is called one belt, one road? Because in Chinese, road connect with Tao, 道路. What the Tao says? Tao says, 道德经, everything begins from Tao. Tao begins with one and then with two and three. So one belt, one road is not a one belt. It's everything begins from one. So many roads, many belts. So it's very Chinese cultural and open reform experience. So because as the moderator said, that China is the second largest economy in the world, but the biggest industrial country since 2010, past the United States. Today, the industrial values of China is 150% of the United States. So One Belt, One Road is want to share, I think, the industrialization experience with those countries, which contribute to the world economy growth, global rebalance, and of course, global economy recovery from the global financial crisis. So that's the reason why Beijing summit attracted more than 130 countries, 1,500 participants. So many countries, including many European countries and your Prime Minister. Why? It's not just to solve the China problem at the beginning. China want to change the open reform model. In the former time, export, FDI driven, 1/4 of the China, made in China goes to European market, 1/4 go to the US market. When the global financial crisis, debt crisis, and China suffered a lot, economy slowing down, so-called new normal. So we should change our economic growth model. Now focus on the Belt and Road countries. They are huge potential for the economic development. So the world also need the Belt and Road Initiative to solve the problem of poverty. As I said, poverty, build a road, infrastructure. I think that the developing countries need infrastructure renovation, renovated. Developing countries, there are shortage of the infrastructure. In the coming decades, the infrastructure, in the coming 4 decades, infrastructure building will cost more than the past 4,000 years. So it's huge money. After the global financial crisis, one of the lessons we learned from that is we cannot just invest in the mega bubble. The hot money in the world is $100 trillion nearly. And then they build the infrastructure also costs similar, $100 trillion. So One Belt, One Road want to get the hot money to be the cold money, focus on the real economy, infrastructure building, mutual connectivity. This is very important to relieve the poverty and also bridge the gaps between rich and the poor. In the United States, also the 1% and the 99% problem. The largest gap between, I think, this coastal area and the inland areas. That's the reason nearly 4 years ago, President Xi made a proposal of the economic belt of the Silk Road, because Kazakhstan is the largest landlocked country in the world. So bridge the gaps, the coastal area, the landlocked areas, and of the governance. The Europeans, you focus on the geopolitics, divide and rule. The world divide and divide. Before World War I, there are only 50 countries, 50. Second World War, and then 60, 70. Today, more than 200. So the world too separate. We need mutual connectivity. That's the Belt and Road Initiative, I think, they want to achieve. So this is the reason why so many countries are actually attracted by the Belt and Road countries. Why we didn't use the new Silk Road or Silk Road? Because the Silk Road is the German concept, Hirschhofen, AD 77. when he discovered in China, found that there are many connections between East and the West, Silk, China, spice, Buddhism, many. And his student, the Swedish, published a book of the Silk Road, predict that China will make the revival of the Asian Silk Road and then contribute to the human development. So that's today's President Xi Jinping is doing. I would like to share with you try to answer the 4 questions. This is the Asian Silk Road, Marco Polo on the Silk Road, right? Very famous. But in 1453, when Ottoman Turkey, occupied Istanbul, today's Kyrgyzstan, and then even rule of Yiwei, right, in the history. And then the Asian Silk Road was cut. And then the Europeans, they need spicy, need tea, China, and from the sea, because they cannot get from the land. And then the Europeans colonized the world and divided the world into Western Hemisphere, Eastern Hemisphere. But many countries want to make the revival of the Asian Silk Road, as I said, particularly for UNDP, there's a Euro-Asia land bridges connect from Vladivostok to Rotterdam, Liangang, and Kunming to Rotterdam. And then this President Xi also proposal that to integrate the Euro-Asian market, the Belt Road Initiative. That's the latest, actually, make such proposal. What's the meaning of the Belt Road Initiative? It's about mutual connectivity of the transportation in the air, oil, gas, land, and internet. So telecommunications, it covered more than 65 countries and 404 billion people. So it's a lot, this huge potential of the economic growth of those, but actually the marginalized from the ancient globalization. So first is about the transportation, about infrastructure building to connect each other for transcontinental. Second, the Belt Road Initiative is about the synergies of the industries. So for the synergies of industries, there are many industries along the Belt Road Initiative, economic belt, industrial park. This I think the China experience, because China has a strong state-owned enterprises. So we not just build the road, but also the industries along the road. And the third meaning of the Belt Road Initiative is about the economic corridor, which linked the most dynamic world economy in Asia Pacific and the largest developing economy, that's the European Union, through the Euro-Asian continent, extend to Africa, and now even to Latin America, the North Pole. So, and then the big market, the dream of the big market, Euro-Asia, and extend to other continent. This is China's map, the Belt Road Initiative, also bridge the gaps between East and the West, between the coastal area and the landlocked areas. And Xinjiang and Yunnan will benefit more from that, because Xinjiang was poor for a long time, but now to be the new frontiers of the Chinese open reform to connect more with the Central Asia, Southeastern Asia, and Western Asia through the many economic corridors. So that's basically the meaning of the Belt Road Initiative, to bridge the integration, make the integration of the Chinese market. Not work so well. Not work. Okay. I should hurry up because there's many photos, many. I should put here. Why is not okay? The first, I think, 3 years ago, when from Chongqing to Germany, Duisburg, this is called the China Euro Rail Express. Originally, from Chongqing to Shanghai, from the sea to Rotterdam, it costs 35 days. Now, from the railway, it's only 13 days, and the cost is only 1/5 from the air. And then today, the more than 20 countries, cities in Europe connect with the Chinese 30 cities, like the EU, from Madrid and London, and build more China Europe Express, Railway Express. And then to the north, China, Mongolia, Russia economic corridor. Mongolia is the second largest landlocked country in the world. 1 kilometer, 1 person. But a huge potential for economic development. And the China-Pakistan economic corridor. Pakistan 20 years ago, the economy similar to the Indians. but now far behind India. But Pakistan, the shortage of the electricity, energy dependent on the Saudi Arabia, and infrastructure very poor. When I visited Karachi, because of the shortage of the electricity, every year 1,000 people will die because it's too hot. So now they're so interested to join Belt and Road Initiative to lift the poverty, to help them to improve the human rights. And in Pakistan, from 3 years passed the CPEC, China-Pakistan Economic Corridor. And in 2020, the Pakistan economy will begin of the industrialization. In 2030, according to the CPEC roadmap, Pakistan will be the mid-power in the world. Fantastic to lift it. And then other countries, and then the Myanmar, Bangladesh, India. India are very concerned about that because the China-Pakistan Economic Corridor passes from Kashmir. And India claims all the Kashmir is India's territory. But this is UK's problem and the Great Britain's problem, right? But we passed this Pakistan territory, but some problems that India's never participate. But I think I need time to convince India that it's not a threat. It's actually economic development. Also, Indian Ocean. India worried about China's influence in the Indian Ocean. They can claim that Indian Ocean is India's ocean, but it's not that case. And then from the Southeastern Asia, economic corridors, many corridors, that along the economic corridors we build more infrastructure, and then also economic industrial park, a special economic zone. Now in the 20 countries, there are more than 56 economic zones, including some European countries. So they want to share their experience. And other countries also have the transportation and energy pipelines, also have similar corridors, including the European Union. And because of the climate warming, and then the North Pole, the Arctic, also there'll be the new trade route connect China and Europe. And we bring all this together, including the United States, 2001 new Silk Road strategy. With the synergies of the strategies, you can see the fantastic result that the European Union and the Euro-Asian continent was integrated. So this is the larger dream of the extended dream of European integration into the Euro-Asian continent, right? In the history, Euro-Asian continent actually, the civilizations and the majority of the people and the economy actually from this era. This is so-called the list of the 6 economic corridors countries, but not limited in those countries. As President Xi said, that is open to all the countries, including the United States, Japan, all participants of the forum in Beijing. So to summarize with the Belt and Road Initiative, one is a concept, it's an initiative. Second is the 2 wings of the one is continent, another is the maritime. Third is number 3. 3 is the 3 principles, which is the build of all, build by all, and the build for all. That's totally different than the colonialist, imperialist, and hegemonic period. 4 kinds of the Silk Road. We say that for the green, healthy, intelligent, and peaceful, and the sectors, 5 sectors: policy coordination, facilities, and trade, finance, people-to-people contact, and the 6 economic corridors. So 1, 2, 3, 5, 6. This is the meaning, original meaning of the Belt and Road Initiative. And then for more, actually, you can read my books. I have 3 books. 2 books also translated into English, French, Russia, many other languages. So you can ask our embassies to help you to get the details. And then I don't have time. And then this is just to summarize something of, not work automatically, principles. And then I will focus more on the China-European cooperation, particularly for the 16+1.
Journey towards the
computer. Okay, that one, and see this one. Okay, that's work. This is so-called Wutong in Chinese. Actually, we learn from European integration. We have 4 capital, human, goods, and service flow, free flow, and we I think bring more. Okay, this is so-called the map, but this map not exactly, including the so-called Mercator map. It's not authorized by the Chinese government. This is just to show you about the meaning of that. Actually, it's more than beyond that. Any map is not correct. This is 6 economic corridors, and also include in my book many special economic zones, many industrial parks, many projects, thousands of them, millions of them, billions of them. This is the Asian Silk Road. This is the Zhenghe, you see? Fantastic. But we never colonized the world. Zhenghe is more than 270 fleets, and then Dagama is only 5. See, different DNA. So Europeans colonized the world, but Zhenghe never. So even reached Africa. See, this is the Zhenghe's port. This is Zhenghe. Okay, sorry. This is his fleet, and the Columbus. See, so small. This is so large. See. This is the today. As we have $4 trillion US technology culture. This is the in coming last 10 years, China built 20,000 kilometers of high-speed railway. This is the map. In 10 years, 20,000 contributed nearly 70% of the world high-speed railway. The United States want to build the high-speed railway from 1991. Today, 0. Why? Because the interest groups. If we want to build a high-speed railway, the companies, the air companies against. The vehicles companies also against. China we can do because we have a strong Communist Party leadership. This is the efficiency. See, this is the high-speed railway. So the money, where the money comes from, you talk about that. And the risks, I will talk about some risks because the economic risks, also economic, political, geopolitics, divided the role, and also security. The so-called the ISO and the extremism, populism. This is so-called the arc of the instability. But this is the road, 1960s from the Indians. We built for Pakistan in 1960s. We sent the 30,000 soldiers to help build this road for Pakistan. And 700 died. So Pakistan said, our friendship is as high as the Hiroshima mountain, as deep as the Indian Ocean. See, the Chinese people help them to get the water. This is very important for Pakistan, so dangerous. I visit more than 4,000 meters higher. You cannot breathe. You can build the road. In 1960s, China also built from Tanzania, Zambia, more than 1,800 kilometers railway for Africans. And then Africans, help China resume the say, we love the US dollars, we love the Russians, Rafa, but we like Chinese people's heart in Africa. They're saying that. Okay, conclusion, you said the lift the poverty of that. Oh. And the legal risks also very many because of different legal systems. As I said, like Laos, we visit. Laos government asked China, can you make a law for us? China said, no interfere in domestic affairs. The legal system is so complex. Americans, NGOs, many problems, many challenges. But because of the risks and the profits always come together. And I think we try to help to work together to solve this problem. This is very important to understand the Belt and Road Initiative, that China upped the open reform from the bottom of the value chain system to the middle. And in the former time, we just focused on the developing countries. Now more competition, like made in Germany and made in China competition. But those Belt and Road countries, actually, the huge complementary space for further cooperations. So for the world, particularly for Europe, see the huge potential for economic growth, to lift the poverty, to contribute the water recovery and the rebalance. These are the infrastructure buildings, gaps. In the coming, as I said, see, according to the McKinsey Bloomberg site, the Belt and Road Initiative will contribute by 2050 3 billion middle class, new middle class for the world. 3 billion new middle class. So huge, they can buy more luxury products from Europe, right? And then in the coming 1 decade, $2.5 trillion US trade will increased for the Belt and Road Initiative. And then it's very important for the global economic growth, and then, of course, global rebalance. The former globalization is partial. Today, we should want to have the inclusive. This partial globalization, see from the light only in the North America, Japan, and Europe, coastal areas. Others, darkness, like in India. India, nearly 300 million people with a shortage of the electricity. So it's a democracy in darkness. People cannot see the light. So we should turn the light to infrastructure building for that. So India actually very need in Belt and Road Initiative, actually. This is a symbol. It's also American dominant. And then, why it's good for the Europe? I think so-called the world island of the Eurasia, the Belt and Road Initiative, they contribute to stimulate economic growth in Europe, particularly for the 16+1 cooperation framework. They also make the revival of the European civilization, contribute to the regional integration. Like Poland, the eastern part, the neighbor of the Germany is very developed. And then western part, eastern part, the neighbor of the Ukraine, poor. So bridge the gaps, east and the west. This is also very important, the Belt and Road Initiative, regional integration and the China-Europe economic cooperations. And then reconciliation with the Russia, because Russia is the largest Eurasian country in the world, and also make the EU to help to access to the Asia-Pacific and enhance the global influence, and also the Belt and Road Initiative under the 16+1. Finally, okay. And then I think my colleagues also mentioned about we can bring to the 16 countries, because in the former time, you are more reliant on the US and the European Union. But now the US pivot back to Asia, and then US make America first. European Union suffered a crisis from crisis. So many 16 countries looks to the East. Even United Kingdom also eager to join, and then to join even China-Pakistan economic corridor. UK, with the synergies of the strategies, and also of the London RMB internationalization, connectivity in many areas with under the Belt and Road Initiative, and also discover the third-party market, like in Africa, in Middle East, many. And international capacity cooperation, like the nuclear plant, the Shinkly of the China, France, work together, discover the UK's nuclear plant market, because the 37 nuclear plants running in China. So it's worked so well, and then our experience. Conclusion is Europeans' future. I borrowed from Albert Einstein's famous equation that mutual connectivity with China through Euro-Asian continent. So this is my conclusion. Thank you. Other countries. My book in English. This is Arabic. Thank you.
Thank you.